Hello, my Aloha tribe, and welcome to the Aloha Perspective, where you get a little bit of something and a whole lot of everything. Happy Tuesday. It is Tuesday. I'm a little late today for those of you that are coming on live, but I appreciate your patience. Had some stuff to deal with this morning. When people call me and they need an ear, I am here. Okay, so, and sometimes that means the show has to take a little bit of a back seat. So, and then I wanted to make tea, so... Anyway, good morning, older sibling. So, it's still not as humid today, but still getting there. Anyways, all right. First and foremost, today is August 26th, and August 26th in Starbucks world is PSL Day. The pumpkin spice lattes are back. That could be a whole show in itself. Like legit, could be a whole show in itself. PSL. We could make PSL something. Pretty secure life. Pretty super life. All that stuff. So anyways, good morning, Muddy. So good morning, older sibling. Good morning, Muddy. All right, so I'm just going to go over yesterday's thing really quick. All right, I'm going to run through mana, and mana's going to run into ha. All right, not ha-ha, but ha. So, mana. In Hawaiian, the word mana refers to spiritual power, authority, or energy that exists within people, places, and objects. It is a powerful, sacred, and life-giving force that can be gained or lost depending on a person's actions and choices, not material possessions. Living righteously, showing respect, and connecting with community increases the mana. So, and remember, as quickly as you can gain the mana, you can lose the mana. So in a way, it's like karma, right? Good karma and bad karma. But as opposed to good karma and bad karma being the side effects of something that's been done, mana is spiritual power. It's that power within us, that thing that drives us, that life force energy that drives us. Okay, so it's a divine, as it says in here, it's a divine energy that drives us. So what mana represents? Spiritual power, life force, authority, and charisma and presence. For instance, charisma and presence. A person with strong mana can have a positive influence and light up the room. So, yeah. It's your internal power. The principle of mana emphasizes that true power comes from within. Okay? True power comes from within. And like I said, even if you have a higher power or you turn your faith to wherever you turn your faith, that can add to that spiritual power, right? Because you're turning your faith to that power in order to, sorry, I'm trying to steep my tea and talk to you at the same time. And clearly I only have the brain function for one thing today because the other half of my brain is thinking about a pumpkin spice latte. So ha. Ha. So anyways, let's get to ha. Ha in Hawaiian. All right. And what I found interesting too is that ha is a thing. And it's basically the breath of life, right? But I found it interesting that ha is the first two letters of Hawaii, or Hawaiian. Or even tomorrow we're going to talk about it because it's also the last two letters of aloha. So, actually, no, that'll be Thursday. Tomorrow's Self-Care Wednesday, I have something planned that will go with mana and ha. So let's get to this. Ha primarily means breath, or the breath of life. It is also used in the traditional greeting, honi'ihu, where two people touch noses and share a breath. You don't see that a lot anymore in Hawaii itself, but you do see that practice amongst the Maori in New Zealand quite a bit. So when you see like dignitaries and people coming in and they touch faces, they're doing the honi'ihu. And it's honi, H-O-N-I-I-H-U. Now, if you grew up in the Hawaiian culture, you'll hear the term honi a lot. And you'll hear the parents saying it to the kids, or the aunties and uncles, can auntie have a honi? And it's basically just touching the noses or, in modern day practice, just hugs or, just the kiss or whatever. So, yeah. So, and it's, and it's usually, like go honi auntie. So again, it's the traditional greeting, honi'ihu, where two people touch noses and share a breath. Additionally, ha is part of the word aloha. Oh, I thought that was on Thursdays, but it's in there. Oh, and I put a note, and Hawaii, which embodies love, compassion, and the interconnectedness of all things. So breath and life force. Ha represents the essence of life, the breath that animates all living things. Traditional greetings, the Honi'ihu, also known as the Ha greeting, is a sacred practice where individuals exchange breath as a sign of respect and connection. And it doesn't mean like you have to breathe into each other's mouths like CPR, okay? It means when you're touching noses, you're still breathing. So you're sharing that. You're kind of connecting your souls together. And it's, and it is a traditional greeting, but like I said, in America and in Hawaii, I don't see people doing that. I've never seen people doing that, but I have in the Maori traditions seen people doing that. And again, it's part of aloha. Ha is a key component of the word aloha, which signifies love, compassion, and the sharing of energy. So when we talk about ha and we talk about mana, they really do go together. And you're probably asking how. Mana is the power that comes from within you, the spiritual power that comes from within you. And ha is the breath and the breath of life. And in order to have that, you have to, you really have to kind of encompass that spiritual power that you have. And when we talk about ha as in breathing, tomorrow we're going to go into that. Tomorrow for Self-Care Wednesday, I have from Kumu Ramsey, I have a whole thing on here, and we're going to talk a little bit about what a kumu is. We're going to talk about mana and the vital life force energy, and ha, the unification of being. So I'm going to read this again tomorrow, but it's the unification of being, the ha breathing process. It helps keep the balance, the energy, and with focus. So mana and ha go together. When you feel like your mana is getting out of control, or you feel like you're losing, I don't even want to say control, because really the spiritual power in all of us is about going with the flow. I mean, simply put, it's about going with the flow. And when we go with the flow, we are able to really kind of, just ride that path, right? Because we're not trying to control everything so that when something goes wrong, we freak out and have a whole conniption fit and it's like, oh my God. No, we're able to just reel it back in. And that's where ha comes in. Ha breathing is about focusing. It's about saying, hey, you know what? I feel my mana is going a little bit crazy right now, or it's going off in other directions, or it just doesn't feel like it's present at the moment. So you do the ha breathing, and tomorrow we're going to go over it. But if you want to start practicing it today, I will tell you that you do it 7 rounds, and each round consists of inhaling to the count of 7, holding it for 7, exhaling to the count of 7, and then holding it. And then you start over with the inhale. And a lot of people are like, 7? Well, what was interesting is when I was watching the video that Kumu Ramsey did, he was laughing because he says, just do it to your own pace. So if you go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, okay. But he says, keep it at the same pace. But he says, if you can, just try to count normally, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It doesn't necessarily have to be 7 seconds. He just wants the number 7 because the number 7 is a very powerful number. But also he says, he started talking, and this was kind of funny because he started talking about divers, right? And divers can actually hold their breath for a very long time, because they're trained to do that. And so he was all like, they can hold their breath for a couple of minutes. So he's all, no, just count, however you want to count, just count to 7. And then keep it consistent throughout your 7 rounds. Now, the 7 rounds may feel like a lot, but really, if you tie it all together, it's about less than 10 minutes of breath work, okay? And if you don't have time to sit there for like 7 minutes and go, just do 1 or 2. Okay, just do 1 or 2. Just breathe in, hold it, breathe out, hold it. But a lot of times, even when we take that breath, we're just reminding ourselves. If you don't have time to take a breath, count to 7. Okay, just count to 7. A lot of people say count to 10 or count backwards from 10. because again, it puts us back into our brains or in our hearts. Sometimes we may feel outside of our mind and we're just like spinning out of control because everything just feels like it's, oh, you know, like you're in a tornado with Dorothy watching the, you know, the lady on the bike go by before she turns into a witch. And so, you know, it's about kind of regaining our position, right? It's about just settling back in. Excuse me, one moment. Okay. I have discovered, so I have 2 tea bags today. One is a peppermint bark and the other one is green tea. And I just put it in one day because I didn't want to take, I mean, I love green tea, but I just felt like I wanted something, right? And I put them together and boy, that was life-changing. You're all life-changing? Really? Yeah, it was life-changing. So anyways, so let's start from the top, all right? Because we read all the way through. So ha primarily means breath or the breath of life. It is also used in the traditional greeting, honi ihu, where 2 people touch noses and share a breath. Additionally, ha is part of the word aloha, which embodies love, compassion, and the interconnectedness of all things. So I'm trying to, this obviously is not going to be a very long show because ha is very simple in what it means. Tomorrow will be a little bit longer because we're going to do Self-Care Wednesday, focusing on mana and ha and aloha. So it is part of aloha, and ha is a key component of the word aloha, which signifies love, compassion, and sharing of energy. I guess this is more about when we feel like we're just spiraling. And I like the fact that this word is very short, just ha, because it is your ha breathing. And you know, I'm sorry, I don't know what's going on with my brain right now, but like everything is distracting me. And maybe that's the point, right? Is the point of ha. Although, you know, my brain could wait till tomorrow because tomorrow will be the perfect day to really kind of set the example of ha. But you should have seen me yesterday. Yeah, for those of you who didn't see yesterday, I kept turning ha into ha ha, and then I started laughing because I'm a dork. But, yeah, so, you know, I think, okay, so I think I figured out what the problem is. I'm trying to turn a very short show into a very long show, and I don't know why, because sometimes when we go through these things, there's so much, but ha is exactly that. The show is as short as this word, because this word, this tiny little 2-letter word, is bigger than all of us. It's how we refocus. It's how we, there's a word I'm looking for and it's not balance, but for some reason my brain is just holding it back from me. But it's this word that we use when we feel discombobulated, when we feel like we're out of touch, when we feel like, you know, we're again out of our ever-loving minds. And we just have to remember to come back to the word, to come back to the feeling, to come back to the breath. Because the breath of life and the, you know, the energy that this breath of life brings can't bring good things if we are just spiraling out of control. Ha is about coming back to center. That was it right there, coming back to center. And it's about refocusing whatever it is that we're, you know, having trouble with. And it's about settling in to that feeling again, settling back into your mana, your spiritual power. And when you hear spiritual power, it's not necessarily, you know, I got to go to church to have spiritual power. I have to believe in God to have spiritual power. Spiritual power is what is within you. A lot of people who have moved away from organized religion will call themselves spiritual. Because, yes, they do believe in a higher power, whoever that higher power might be. For most people, it is God. And I say that because most spiritual people have had some kind of issue with organized religion, but they still believe in God. We talked about this yesterday with Mr. Thurman and how, he came from a very religious family, but when his father died, the pastor basically told him, your father's going to hell during the funeral. Who does that? And so he found himself moving away from organized religion and moving into the idea of spirituality. He still had his faith. He still believed in God. He still believed in Jesus, but he took it, I don't know, in a way he kind of pioneered this for all of us who did become spiritual, who, again, I have a very full spiritual table. But he was like, no, this is what I believe, but I think there's so much more to it than just that. I don't think that if a person doesn't step through these particular doors that they're going to hell because they lived a good life. They were a good person. But he was very young when that happened and it affected him. And in a way, we can be mad at the preacher for saying this. However, when you look at the span of his life and the works that he did and the things that he wrote, and even being an inspiration for Dr. King, we realize that this person's shortcoming at the pulpit was the person that led this young person at the time to seek a different path and to open a doorway for a lot of us who just feel like, we're lost out there. So if you feel like you're lost out there, come back to the ha breathing. Come back to that breath of life, to that strength, that to reignite your spiritual power within. Spirituality isn't anything more than kind of looking out and viewing the world. But again, like I said yesterday, it's not about viewing the world through all the darkness. It's not about viewing the world through the rose-colored glasses. It's about looking at the world and saying, what can I add to it? What can I add to it to make it better? What can I do to be of service to this world so that we can start shifting the energy back to the way it needs to be, back to that balance? Because this world is imbalanced right now, terribly imbalanced. So we have to ask ourselves, and it's not about going out there and being Superman and saving the entire country. It's about starting with yourself. What can I add? What can I put out there that will help other people? Maybe some people follow a certain direction because they're angry about something, or maybe people follow another direction because there's pain and grief and they don't know where else to put it. So somebody gives them an outlet and all of a sudden, boof, they run with it. So we have to figure out, what can we put out there? Whether it's a positive meme or just being kind to someone that you see in trouble. Somebody drops something, say you're walking out of the store and somebody drops their stuff, help them pick it up. Or maybe you see someone trying to cross the street, but, all the cars are just like, I'm going to be an asshole and not let them go. Just, take them and help them. It's these simple acts are what can reframe the balance and put the balance back at where it belongs, add a balance. And one of the ways we can do that is with this breath of life. This breath of life is what we soak in for these 7 rounds to rebuild and to strengthen our mana within. So, there you have it. I have no idea where the rest of that just came from, but thank you to whoever put that all in my mouth and in my face. So, I'm telling you, my brain is like going in like 1,000 directions right now. Wow. Anyways, so I am sorry again for those of you who came on live for being late. But but tomorrow, I'm really excited about tomorrow because I'm really excited to share everything I learned from Kumu Ramsey. And we're going to go into a little bit of everything we've talked about this week. Tomorrow, we're going to talk about mana. We're going to talk about ha. We're going to have a preview into aloha. And then Thursday, we're going to tie it up with aloha. It's just by itself. All right. So, the Aloha Perspective is actually being the Aloha Perspective. But just for people who watch this and wonder why I don't do more, of Hawaiian stuff. I'm working on that, but like I said yesterday, until I had this spiritual awakening, I'm not really sure I truly understood the spirituality that comes with my Irish side and my Hawaiian side, because they're both very, I don't want to say metaphysically based, but they step outside the norm of, how to help ourselves. I mean, you can say magic, you can say spiritual, you can say metaphysical, you can say whatever, however it fits into your vocabulary. But when it all comes down to it, it's really what aloha is about. It's a feeling. And I don't think I really truly understood my Hawaiian side until and that spiritual side that I've been trying so hard to grasp onto. Like I said, I've read so much about the Celts. I've read so much about, like the Irish people. And I haven't really ever focused much on my Hawaiian. And part of it was because I did grow up in the Hawaiian culture. So I think I probably figured I knew everything, right? Or, being bullied by my cousin when I'd go back to visit in Hawaii. Sometimes that triggers you and makes you just kind of push away from, what is familiar because you want to distance yourself. But I don't want to do that anymore because there is so much energy that can be harnessed. And you don't have to be Hawaiian. Like I said, I am a bloodline Hawaiian. But when I started the Aloha Perspective, part of it was because I had to change the name. And I didn't really have to, but it wasn't worth the trouble that it was causing. So I changed the name. A friend said, you're always, you're Hawaiian and you're a great representation of aloha. Why don't you call it this? Aloha. And the aloha, and we didn't know where perspective came from. My friend and I brainstormed it, and all of a sudden I said, what about the Aloha Perspective? And they're all, that sounds great. And in a way, when we stop and think about it and we really tune into the word aloha, we're trying to find a perspective on something that is, full of love, compassion, and the sharing of energy. The Aloha Perspective is about helping people. It's about sharing our stories. It's about, opening ourselves up, if you're willing to help other people heal theirs. And that's what love is. It's helping other people heal their stories. It's helping other people, dive in to the deep end when they're not ready, but letting them know that they're not alone, that you are there to help them, that you are there to guide them through, no matter what they need, and that, no matter how far underwater they go, you're not going to let go. Because you know that on the other side of that is the life that they do deserve. As I'm going to quote Henry James to close this out. One of my favorite quotes from Henry James is, "It's time to start living the life you've imagined." And people will say, well, I don't know how to do that. Just do it. You don't have to have everything in place. But when you believe in your mana, when you believe in that spiritual power within you, when you calm your nervous system down, you are going to be able to pray and manifest everything. And you're probably saying, that's full of shit. No, because you believe in it. You're believing in it. You're not just saying, oh, I want this, but then your internal energy is like, nope. And then you're like, well, it doesn't work. Well, it doesn't work. But notice the times when you're in this great mood and everything's just going right. You are manifesting that. You are manifesting everything falling into place because your energy is in a good place. And that's what mana is. It's your spiritual power. It's that balance. That's what Ha is. Ha helps you bring you back to that spiritual balance. That Ha breathing. It says to you, hey, you know what? We need to take a breath. We need to refill our cup. And that can be what your spiritual power is, that mana. That mana could be the cup that you're holding that you need to fill back up with that good energy so that you can be of service to other people. Okay, so I hope everybody has a wonderful, wonderful day. I'm looking forward to tomorrow. I think I don't know. I think I did okay today, but I don't know what's happening in my brain right now. But yeah, I really like the Ha breathing. I need to start doing that daily because sometimes I get so out of my mind, like today. And the show was late because I had some things I needed to tend to. So, or people. I had to tend to my flock. But, you know what? But I like what Sammy said. Sammy says, I'm thankful to that nutty preacher. Yeah, no kidding, right? I mean, he really, one incident, one event shaped Howard Thurman and gave us all these wonderful works that I still need to read. but Sammy has been sharing with me, and also stepping outside of what church and society tells us. And that's exactly it. Reading the Bible is great if that's what you're, if that's where you put your faith. But we can't just pick and choose what we want from the Bible. You can't say, well, God doesn't like this. But because the Bible is a story, it's telling you things that have happened. In a way, if you want, it's like a rule book of sorts. And some people will pick the worst things out of it and then just hit people with their Bible and make everybody else in Christianity look bad. Meanwhile, there's the other people, like my cousin, like Sammy, who sit there and go, we love everybody. Everybody's welcome in. I mean, I know where my cousin stands in her Christianity, and I'm very grateful that, when we talk, she listens. She lets me talk. I feel open and free to talk to her like I do with Sammy. And even older sibling, but older sibling and I don't exactly have an organized religion we belong to. But they're very open and they're very accepting, and they're not sitting there going, well, you're going to hell because you think that way. And, it's just, what we believe and what we encompass, I mean, there are over 1,000 religions on this planet. There are probably 5 big ones that everybody knows about, and then all the other little ones that branch off from those. But I am a true believer that if you're a good person, you're going to be okay. Okay? You're going to be okay. Oh, I like that. I'm going to hot breathe from now on. I really need to hot breathe from now on. After I'm done with this show, I am going to, when I'm uploading, I'm going to be hot breathing. Because my mana is a little, woo. It's a little staticky right now. It's fragile. So anyways, I hope everybody has a wonderful, wonderful day. Thank you so much for tuning in and watching. Thank you again for those of you who came on with me late. I appreciate you. And I do hope this made some sense. So, yeah, have a great day. I'll see you back here tomorrow, 8:30 a.m. Pacific time, Facebook Live. All lives are public under Shelly Marie Lucas on Facebook. You can find me on YouTube and across the social media board, either under Shelly Marie Lucas, the Aloha Perspective, or on Twitter, Shell Bell's Quest. So again, have a great day, everybody. Thank you so much for watching. Older sibling and Muddy Twin, thank you so much for popping on. I appreciate you both. And I will talk to everybody tomorrow. Have a wonderful, wonderful day. And don't forget to do your ha breathing. 7 in, hold, 7 out, hold, and then start over. Have a great day.